on.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Net Talk. I'm Alex.
I'm Mitch.
We're bringing you back just to us again.
Yeah, we've had enough guests.
We got shown up too much by Liam Sketcher's knowledge that is unmatched, I think, maybe actually, in the Australian sphere.
Just makes us look bad.
Yeah.
No,
I'm the everyman of the podcast, so I just sit here and go, what? Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I recognise these players from VNL. Germany's got some talent.
Can't relate at all. I tried my best, but just couldn't. But no, we hope you enjoyed having Sketch on. We appreciate him legitimately messaging us at the last minute being like, did you guys catch that Berlin game? We were like, we're about to talk about it. And he's like, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he was just on. So I appreciate that. Today we're not talking about German league today. We're talking about the Italian league because that's the first league we believe it's entered their finals period. Polish league's got another 3 rounds. Germany's got 1 round. Couldn't work out how many more rounds the Japanese league has. I think there's at least another 3 though.
Yeah.
Because it's hard because they're technically finishing up their round from the weekend like now. So like some of the results aren't in. But anyways, before any of all that, Slay and Shame.
Slay and Shame of the week. Am I going first as usual?
Yeah.
Got anything good? Oh.
Yeah, no, you go first.
I'll start with a shame. My shame can be that I didn't go to the Cobram National Tour event, which I normally do. I normally try and make a way there, normally I'd be playing.
Yeah.
But just didn't have my usual partner. I didn't really think I'm in the state to be playing with someone else because
Wow, you want to play with me?
It wouldn't be good for my conditioning. I'd have to work too hard.
You're the beach guy. I'm not the beach guy.
Yeah. But I got to watch a lot of the games on YouTube. Well, it frustrates me that they only do semis and finals on the YouTube.
They didn't just roll the camera for the.
I thought you just do court 1 all day, but I guess the men and the women are on different courts. But surely you could do something so you get to see the quarterfinals as well because that seems to be where some of the upsets were on that side.
Yeah.
My slay can be that my plans for the year are finalised.
Finally. We're only in March.
I have made my LeBron the decision and I'm taking my talents to the University of Melbourne.
For our audio listeners, Alex just pulls out a Melbourne Uni hat and throws it on. Yeah.
I love when
the props
players like sit in front of the table with like the 5 spread of the hats and they
they go, I'm going.
I wish I had 5 choices, but I didn't particularly.
4, didn't you?
I had a couple.
Yeah.
I had one last minute choice, which threw a spanner in the works to be like, I could consider moving to Adelaide and starting the semester today, but.
It would have been today, wouldn't it?
Or maybe I think that actually might start next week. I'd have to make my final decision by tomorrow, but I'll lock in that I've just made my LeBron the decision.
Don't go to Adelaide. There's nothing there other than our first guest, Nathan.
Yeah. Maybe I'd get good at beach volleyball if I was in a state where I actually trained.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm already planning Uni Nats 2025. We're winning.
Seems to be like not the highlight of your career, but like the thing that you focus on the most.
Yeah, because it's just like fun. And we're going to stack team again this year. And, just like got a couple of these and I've just got to make another one.
I thought you left them here.
For the audio listeners, again, I've redone the bit of pulling out the gold and bronze medal.
The national
Western
medals.
Sydney didn't take me, actually. I did look at their courses, but they didn't. No
volleyball scholarships are offered there.
Yeah, not the right course for me at Western Sydney. For yourself.
I don't know. Hey, like I've had a really busy weekend. I've just been exhausted trying to get things organised for Warrnambool, our big tournament that rolls around every year, and I think it's just been a lot getting that organised this year from a different like role in the club, like being women's director. It's like I don't just have one team; I have several teams I have to manage.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot, but it's been good. Like I think it's all just learning and figuring out that there's a lot more logistics to volleyball than just putting 6 players on the court. As much as we all wish it was just that.
The amount of times I realised, like, going through junior state team programs, there's always like someone that's the team manager that does food and essentially laundry for all the junior teams.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, that's easy. They just get the free trip to go with the team, get to watch some volleyball. And I go, oh wait, no, they're actually making sure you're compliant with all the junior policies. Communication with
drive
parents.
the bus. Like
that.
I won't be driving any buses, but I do have to take care of some juniors. I got to be a guardian for them on the weekend, which is like as I said, like nothing I haven't done before, but it's more just doing that for multiple teams is new and a lot, which is a lot good. And then sleigh, that could have been a sleigh as well, that I haven't monumentally fucked it up.
Yeah, haven't had the tournament yet. It's this weekend.
Yeah,
so.
I shouldn't jinx myself.
Yeah.
Genuine sleigh is I've been somewhat happy with, like, for those who don't know, like musicians, like it can be hard to generate ideas off the spot. But I'm on a roll at the moment. I've made 4 songs in just as many weeks, which is like rare for me, especially with the public side. I won't go into it, but essentially I have to be my own boss and be like, you need to make this many songs by this date. And I'm traditionally really bad at following my own deadlines.
Yeah.
So that's my sleigh.
Yeah. At least you can move deadlines on yourself versus a pain when it's someone else moving their deadline.
See, that's the problem.
6 weeks
I
earlier.
tell myself that, and then suddenly it's like,
I've done nothing.
I'll have my album done by May in 2026. Like it's just like doesn't.
Perfect. That gives you a year of teasers.
Yeah, and no money.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the national and local scene. It's still pretty much beach volleyball.
Yeah, the national tour has been going on in Australia, and for Australian volleyball at the moment, beach volleyball might be the only thing on the cards really to get ready for 2028. Maybe indoor will wrap back around, but
unlikely.
Beach volleyball is where the eyes are. Although Cobram,
it'd be some big upsets on the weekend.
I feel like it was lacking a few of the notable names and teams that you would typically see. Neither of the top Australian men's pairings went.
You would know, but is that because they're elsewhere playing other events? Or
I don't believe anyone's international at the moment, but maybe they're just doing training camps or around.
Or maybe taking a break.
A couple of them did just play the Canberra national event.
Yeah.
Maybe it is just not necessarily worth their time to fly to Victoria, drive 3.5 hours to Cobram and then do it. But previous...
Was it good weather?
Yeah, it was actually pretty nice. I think it got pretty hot on one of the days, as it always seems to do.
I feel like normally it always seems to be like a 40-degree event.
But it is a bit of a difference from previous years. Like, still the national teams have been there. Although I wasn't there. Maybe they were there watching again or late withdrawals. Because in previous years, Zachary Schubert was there after his knee reconstructions.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And he was doing just rehab and active work on the side of the courts and I guess watching and you're doing it, but you're just learning the game still.
Before you continue, because we talked about it last episode about how countries handle Olympic cycles differently. Could we maybe not be seeing our top athletes because we're trying to see who's coming up?
Yeah. I guess it is still free entry to these tournaments, so the outcome of the results, but the partnerships were a bit different.
Yeah.
On the women's side, the winners actually did play together in Canberra. I don't think they played together before that, but Jana Milutinovic has won 5 straight national tours, although she didn't play the Glenelg one.
Yeah.
But she's won every one she's played in since last year. Cobram.
It's pretty good.
I think so. That is pretty good. She's pretty young and is probably the next up on the women's side, I reckon.
Yeah.
To be in that, she's like 23, I think.
Oh, wow.
Playing with Taliqua, who's
a veteran.
The old guard.
Yeah.
But they won Canberra Open, or the Canberra National Tour event together.
And then followed it up with
Cobram. The men's side was a little bit more interesting for myself because the Victorian teams were the ones that did some upsetting.
Yeah, we love to see that.
Yeah, Klaas McIntosh and Ben Carroll defeated the 1 seeds, Jack Pearce and D'Artagnan Potts. So Jack Pearce and Dart are probably one of the top pairs in the Australian ranking. They were first seed of this event. They won 2024 Asian Champs. They won the Canberra event against Mark Nicolaides and Isaac Carraher.
That's a big upset.
So that is a big upset, but like Jack Pearce, they've been. Jack Pearce was playing with someone else last year, I think, so they've mixed that up a little bit. But Class and Ben, I think, are the future of Victorian teams. I love Class. He's my favourite beach volleyball player to watch at the moment.
Yeah, they're pretty bloody good.
They're both very athletic. They're both relatively big, although Ben plays the defender role. They still slot into that a little bit. Like the typical
they can do both
standards.
if they,
They can do both when they're caught out, but Class has amazing hands and Ben has such a strong, firm arm. They did kind of get walked over in the semi by Jed and Oliver Merritt, who were the eventual winners. But then Justin Schumann and Garang Anyang got bronze because they played Class and Ben in the bronze. So that's a Victorian
very familiar
bronze. Yeah.
They'd be so used to that.
Yeah, actually, Class and Ben might be a bit disappointed because I think in their pools and their crossover, they were against Victorian sides, which is always like a big gripe people have with tournaments is when you go to a national tour and you just play the people you play every weekend anyway.
I don't really know Oliver Merritt that well, but Jed Walker, we've talked about him on the podcast before.
Yeah. From WA
Steel, who had that amazing run coming off the bench in the grand final and just tearing it up.
I think they've both made the move to South Australia, actually.
Yeah.
To train and play beach there. In Sassy, with Sassy, as one of those partnerships.
For those who don't know, if you're really good at beach volleyball, unlike Alex and I, you go to South Australia, which
I should have moved to South Australia for uni.
Maybe you
and just
should've.
told people it was for beach volleyball.
So similar to AIS, where indoor players go to Canberra, beach players go to South Australia, which is where the central development hub is for beach volleyballs.
Yeah. And Jed and Ollie were the 5th seeds for the tournament and they didn't drop a set the whole way through.
Wow. That's impressive.
And watching their finals games as well, because I've seen Ollie Merritt play with someone else last year. I don't think this is their first time making finals.
Really?
Either of them making the Super Sunday is what they call the Sunday finals day.
Yeah.
And they won.
Wow.
But I noted down that this isn't an attack at them because it is a compliment. And I mean it to be a compliment that the beach volleyball really lets you actually match your play style and your match style with the strengths of the athletes.
Yeah.
Because Jed's not a massive guy, but his attack is so composed and controlled.
Yeah.
Ollie Merritt is a bigger guy, doesn't have the technique per se. I mean, he still has a very good
maybe not like the range.
Yeah. But his first attack is a strong swing, and then you don't need to have a perfect cut shot if your strong swing is so lethal.
Yeah.
But like in their final, it was a bit interesting seeing they played Paul Burnett and Luke Ryan, and they seemed to serve Jed a little bit, and it was like, what are you doing? He's probably the better guy, but his hands are good enough that when Ollie Merritt is swinging, that's probably maybe more of a threat. But then Paul and Luke's defense wasn't amazing, so maybe it was just how it was on the day in the final that Jed just kind of had a field day, so they kind of swapped back and forth.
Yeah.
But that was a really good final to watch.
I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch it. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
I will say, though, with beach volleyball, with my limited but somewhat decent experience with beach, it's like sometimes it's just on the day you struggle to execute.
Yeah.
Like the game plan might be sound, but executing the game plan can be really difficult because it's so intimate. Like it's you and the other guy and then the other team and that's it.
Cobram's sometimes a pretty tough environment. It's usually pretty sheltered from the wind. But it's such dusty courts. The heat is sometimes the worst, I reckon, on the national tour.
Yeah, okay.
But at least the sand's a little firmer, so you still get like a consistent play style. You can figure it out. Versus sometimes the Victorians do pretty well in the windy conditions.
Because we're so bloody used
or
to
one
it.
of the Coolangattas I went to in previous years, like it was just like after the hurricanes in the Gold Coast, and so it was so windy still, and
all
there
the
was
Victorian teams are
debris
good?
along the side of the beach, and the Victorians flourished because we're used to horrible winds 24/7 at South Melbourne.
Well, South Melbourne, like I came to Victoria, and I reckon maybe this speaks more to my commitment to beach volleyball as opposed to indoor volleyball, but I reckon I was quite good at both beach and indoor in Queensland. And then once I moved, beach saw a very significant decline because I just did not enjoy it that much because I think the first year I was in Victoria, it was a notoriously bad weather season in South Melbourne. So I just played like 3 or 4 times and was like, remember playing with with my housemate who was our teammate at the time. And it was the first, like literally like second week in Melbourne played. And it was that bad. I could not hold the ball with one hand to prepare to serve. It would blow out of my hand before I could. I remember thinking, I'm not playing again. If it's going to be like that. But yeah, so that's where we're at. Most states in Australia probably be getting ready.
Yeah, beach volleyball will be done. There's only one more national tour event.
Yeah. So wrap up and then
it's indoor time.
Yeah, indoors around the corner. We had I had a planning with Volleyball Victoria on the weekend meeting that we went to talking about where the league should go and stuff, and that was some interesting discussion.
Productive?
It's one of those things where like I'm sure anyone can imagine it. When you bring together lots of people with lots of different opinions, it tends to be a too many cooks in the kitchen kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah. So no, I can't find the brackets for yeah. I don't know how to screenshot on a Mac.
We can cut this bit.
Alex and I planning mid episode.
Well, I just realised you didn't put the women's bracket in, and I was like, whoops.
There is no women's bracket, and the men's I can't work out how to. That's all right. I'll go through them.
Yeah.
All right, and we're gonna go into so only the Italian league is in finals at the moment. They've just finished literally on the weekend. They've just finished their playoffs, their preliminary season. So we'll go through the women's first. I don't have a bracket because I couldn't find it on the website.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a graphic, but I know how they work. So it's 1v8, 2v7, 3v6, 4v5. And the way it works, both men and women's in the Italian league, is a best of 5 series from here on out, which means you get a total of 5 games to win against whoever you're up against in the quarters, the semis, and in the final. Very different to the way that Australian volleyball operates.
It's a lot of matches. It's against the same
team. But for those who are listening who probably wonder, like, why would you do that? Like NBA does that, but it's not something that like we would really do.
Best of 7.
Yeah, best of 7. So it's even more. The first thing I realized is that playing volleyball at this high level, and this is probably a question / I would love to hear input from more experienced coaches in the community about how much influence game plan and simply also just executing on the day has an impact for you get whacked one week and the next week maybe you whack or you change the result and most of the matches I've seen throughout the last few years I've followed it have interesting outcomes. Most of the series has interesting outcomes. So, yeah, that's something to keep in mind.
Because it does reward depth and club strength rather than just your top 8 players being the best. Because although there is still decent gaps between each matchup, like there's a week between each game. I can see that they've got the first 2 scheduled for like Gorgonzola, like that they play on the 8th and then they play again on the 16th. So you're getting a week of time in between each of your matches. Yeah. Which is pretty important and probably doesn't draw heaps onto like injury and fatigue versus other sports that do like series. NBA, you're playing multiple games a week.
Well, they do
a couple of days, but
I believe they get to that because there's there's 15. Like I don't believe
matches.
They're playing 15 weeks of more of competition. But yeah, I'll just go out through the standings here. So Canigliano finished top. That's the team that Alex and I have been going on and on about for the entire year because they're just ridiculous.
I noted in their stats they've got 2 passes in the top 5 for perfect reception percentage, and it's Gabby Gamara's at 48% and Monica Gennaro at 46% perfect.
For that considering that's a season stat is absurd.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. Second is Milan, True Volley Milan. And then Scandici, Novara. So Alex and I did a breakdown of Canigliano and Novara earlier on in the podcast. Fanara Sherry is on there, a team we haven't really followed too much. Arezzo is on here. So that is probably terrible pronunciation. In sixth, Valley Fogila is on here in seventh, and Bergamo, they're on eighth. So there's probably going to be a very big difference between eighth and first, especially if it's Canigliano.
We'll get to see that matchup.
Yeah, that'll probably be.
First, so.
But quarterfinals will be really interesting, I think. Like these top four teams, it's pretty much going to be if anyone can beat Canigliano once or twice before they get to the final, I think. That's going to be probably the matchup. There's a lot of comments being thrown around at the moment and I sort of agree that if Milan can execute near perfectly enough against Canigliano, they might do it. But then you could say the same about every team. If you execute perfectly.
But that's like what we saw in CV, Lüneburg.
It's true.
Taking off an undefeated team in the German league. They'll have to do it again when the German league gets to their finals. They still got taken to a golden set. So the 5-game series makes it probably even that little bit more difficult because you can play to a higher level than what you are, but it's whether you can sustain that for series. Yeah,
you genuinely must sustain, and that is the hardest part, but also the biggest leniency to having because you could have a shocker over the first couple of games and then pull it together for the end and be okay. But yeah, I really like watching Canigliano, and I don't really see them not losing. But I would like to see an upset.
Yeah,
I think it would be really cool to see an underdog team take on the mighty Canigliano. But yeah, not really a whole lot to say about this. But if you're going to watch any of them, I'd be looking for there's no bracket here, but it'll look like Canigliano will end up having to play Novara.
Yeah,
if Novara end up going through and winning. So that'll be the first of the matchups. So that'll be the quarterfinal series.
The semifinals.
Sorry, the semifinals. Yeah, you're right. To watch. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I mean, or you do get to see the 4 and 5 matchup in the quarterfinals, Scandici and Ferenzi.
I was gonna say that.
Sherry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that could be really close, but then I'm looking at the ladder and the scores are very different. There's clearly a top 4 and then everyone else.
Yeah, which is how it should often work out.
Yeah,
is you have your top 4 qualify through those matchups.
Yeah.
It's just if you get an upset, then if Bergamo beats Canigliano, you then get Numia Volley Milano getting to play them in the next lineup.
No, literally. And if you had to pick an underdog team, who do you reckon you would pick?
Can an underdog team be the third? Scandici?
Yeah, I guess. I'm really leaning towards Novara just because Ishikawa's sister Maya plays on this team. Mayu, sorry. And Tatiana Tolok. That really tall, young opposite that is outrageously good.
Yeah. Scandici also has a really good opposite. Antropova, yeah. She's a gun.
But I
think she might be the highest scorer.
Yeah, they run
league.
through her quite a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like we did a match on them as well. And then, to be honest, I think the two teams that are going to go at it the most, and they're going to be the top 2 teams, which it makes.
Milano and Canigliano, because it's a matchup of the best lineups. Polo Ugonu is
and Silla and Smrek. It's just
Isabel Haak.
Yeah, I want to see. Yeah, her and Ugonu, I want to see them go at it, which we have plenty of times this season. But the last time these two teams was a bit disappointing, but hopefully they figure it out for finals. But I truthfully think that Caneliano will just flog everyone. And
They're undefeated for a reason.
I did see that they've broken every record in this season. So the last record for the highest regular season was 75 points.
Yeah,
undefeated.
And they're at 77.
And that was by the Panthers. Panthers don't exist anymore. I don't remember that
Where they
was
were based.
I don't remember where they were based. The sponsor is different. It
Yeah.
might have been another high-level team. But so Caneliano on 77. So they've dropped 1 point for the entire season, which is wild.
They were also, that is crazy because they were also already breaking the records in winning their mid-season cup, the pre-season cup.
Yeah.
They've won that however many years in a row now. And
so if they don't win the final, it'll be a true
the bar gets set
upset.
high for teams like that. But it
Yeah.
is, if you don't win, you lose. Like,
literally.
what's it for? You're there to win.
Yeah. All right, we'll hear from our today's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Andor Financial.
Now, as some of you know, a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, and our Melbourne Uni Renegades captain, Michael Cirillo, has recently started his own mortgage broking business.
Not only this, but Mike and Andor Financial have committed to supporting and sponsoring Net Talk for the indefinite future.
If you didn't know, Mike has spent the last 10 years in the finance industry in both financial planning and mortgage broking roles and is super passionate about empowering people to take control of their financial future.
So you or if anyone you know is in need of a home loan or would like to review their current lending situation, reach out to Mike and Andor Financial.
You can find out more information in the footnotes or description down below.
Thank you again to Andor Financial for sponsoring Net Talk. And we are back. On to the men. So the women's side was very much a domination by Caneliano, then 3 teams and then everyone else.
Yeah.
The men's side is a little bit more varied, and I am all for it.
It is your top 2 being clear of everyone else by a couple wins, but then a lot closer for 3 through 8.
Yeah.
Because it is Trentino and Perugia both on the same
Same points.
win-loss, same points.
Exactly
as well.
the same points. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Trentino is ranked above Perugia. They finished top, and I think it's because Perugia went to 5.
Yes.
One more time than Trentino did. Yeah, it is.
The point percentage is very different, or the point quotient. Like,
Yeah, it's
very similar.
It's so
Everything
weird.
across the board, it looks so similar on the results table.
It's a 0.02 of a difference because Trentino won 62 sets, lost 22 sets. Perugia won 63 sets, but also lost 23 sets.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the smallest of margins.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the teams in the men, Trentino, top, Perugia, Lubecitanova, Verona, Piacenza, Milano, Modena, and Cisterna. As much as everyone would probably like to say like anyone could win it, the Milano aren't looking particularly good. Modena aren't looking particularly good. Cisterna aren't looking amazing. Could they perform an upset against Trentino, Perugia, and Lube? Probably not. So Trentino being the top seed, they'll play against Cisterna. I think Trentino smoke them. Perugia and Modena, I think Perugia smoke them. Although I say this every time, the last time Perugia were in this situation, they cucked it.
Yeah.
Big time.
Although, like you had a fear that they had a couple losses. I think they had their 2 losses in a row,
And then they came back.
And then they just haven't had another. So
Yeah.
they've strung it back together.
I think the most interesting matchups will genuinely be for the quarterfinal series. Will genuinely be that 4-5.
Piacenza.
Yeah, because Verona was the team to win the mid-season cup.
Yes, they were.
Oh wait,
Were they?
they were in the final.
Yeah.
I don't think they won. I think Lube ended up winning it. I can't remember. Someone fact check me on that. Or I can look at it here while we talk.
I'll
But
show a live fact check. I've got a loading screen.
quick. Anyways, they were in the cup final.
Yeah.
I remember they were in the cup final because Kita had an incredible cup series.
Yeah.
And Piacenza's going through it, I think. I can't remember if they were the team who just got a new head coach. I think they are. But yeah, so that 4-5 matchup will genuinely be pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
I think the rest of them will be okay.
I mean, Verona's a pretty solid team. Jordan Ewart, Aiden Zingle in the middle.
Yeah, fellow Australian. But see what Nomura Kita comes up with.
Yeah.
He has been playing pretty well. Will this let me click on this team? Okay, well. But yeah, this... it's literally not going to tell me the schedule. But yeah, and then in the semi-finals, I think it'll be much more interesting.
I mean, if you do just have the top 4 winning their quarters to get to the semis would then be interesting because I think like Lube Perugia will be
That'll
interesting
be
semi
really
if that
feisty
matchup can happen.
Yeah.
Lube's like slowly become one of the teams I just like love watching. Like Eric Lepke, Chinyese in the middle.
And they're really young setter. He's just outrageously good.
Legumza.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in that team.
Has Nikolov been playing that much? Alex Nikolov?
He's been coming off the bench a little bit, but not like a huge role. And I think it's because they kind of want him to be the backup. Like having him as a backup is outrageous.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can sort of go, we're going to go with the guys we went with while you were injured.
Yeah.
And if one of them isn't performing, whether
Then
it's
it's
left side or right side,
Yeah.
you're just going to go on and hit kills.
Yeah. Because they quietly have a very solid roster. Velasco is like Lib and like Podriskanen as a backup middle as well. He's pretty good, the Serbian middle.
Yeah. I feel like
right, he's been their backup, or has he been starting sometimes?
They
he's been
flip.
the start,
I think
yeah.
it depends on who they
matching
play.
up with.
Yeah. So yeah, Lube won the mid-season cup, and I'm looking at it here because Nikolov came on in the 5th and like hit 8 kills or something ridiculous. So having him as a backup is pretty cool. Also, Lube is a franchise known for having whatever they've got, they make it work and they always make finals. Like that is
tailoring to the talent.
Yeah, that's just Lube as a franchise. They're just known to do that. The more interesting one, I think, is actually Trentino Verona. I think Verona come up against Piacenza and probably win.
Yeah.
Trentino definitely win, I think. That will be a really interesting semi-final, I think. Because Trentino are so solid. They've got Micheletto, they've got Lavia, they've got Spertoli, like the second Italian setter who sometimes should probably be the first. So that will be a really interesting matchup because they played against each other, I believe, in the mid-season cup, and Verona got up. So, yeah, what's your take on all this?
Been given it. I think Perugia just looks good, but I reckon Lube is going to be my sneaky pick to
win.
Yeah, I think they will match up. Who do they play against? Milan. Like that'll be fine in terms of their first one. I think they'll be comfortable, and then they'll come up against like probably Perugia. So that'll be an interesting one. But that I think they still will do okay again in that. Probably through the middle. Perugia's middles aren't super strong, correct?
No, they're traditionally solid. They're not. Like, they're all national team starters.
Yeah.
Like, I forget who they have this year.
I was trying to think about who their middles were this year. Lasser.
Yeah. The last time I watched them play was like a week ago, and I feel like they're not connecting amazingly with G and Ellie at the moment.
Yeah.
But they're under a lot of load, I think, with all the playing that they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, but they have the power through their outsides and their opposites that set them
Plotnitsky
on the right
is
foot.
also back, I believe. Well, he's healthy. I don't know if they're playing him.
Yeah, I mean, they were already doing a pretty even rotation between their pass hitters anyway, between Ishikawa and Semenyuk.
Yeah.
And Plotnitsky. So it's just interesting to see what they'll do there. They can have a stinker. What was it? Was it them versus Trentino where they all cramped?
Yeah, that was like a big fight. That was their first loss.
Yeah, that was their first loss. They had They all cramped and were limping into a fifth set.
And Trentino also had
A couple
some issues.
outs mid-game.
Yeah.
Which was a funny one.
No, I got the grand final being Trentino and I think Lube. I think Lube gets up on
Perugia in the semi.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
Just because I think Lube are just so annoying to have to play.
Yeah.
And I think you could make the comparison that Lube are similar to Lundberg in the sense that they make you play their way. And if Perugia probably don't come off serving the ball at 1,000,000 miles an hour at Lube and Lube have some sort of control over it, they might be good. But again, as we both said, like you've got to sustain that for at least 3 matches.
Yeah.
And that is really, really hard. Perugia known to self-implode though. So you could kind of hedge your bets on that. That at least one of those games you might get that sort of Perugia. But yeah.
Can they capitalise on it? But maybe that'll definitely at least be one that goes to a 5-game series.
Yeah, which one? I reckon Verona Piacenza has potential to go all the way to 5 games.
Which would be good to see in a quarterfinal. Tiring for those players to...
Yeah. Well, so the last time Milano was in the final, it was when they beat Perugia, and I'm pretty sure they went to 5 with Perugia for the series, and they ended up winning against Perugia. And then the next series they had like a Piacenza, and they also went to 5.
Yeah.
Like, so that's like 10 games in the space of like, I think it was like 4 or 5
They
weeks.
they do have like, I'm looking at the schedule now for like the playoffs to build that image of how many games they're playing. Match 1 of the quarterfinals is on the 9th of March. Match 2 on the 16th, 23rd, and then
closer.
26th, 30th. So you're going from week to 3 days to 3 days.
Yeah.
I
I think they get closer. And
in the semis, it's probably you're at the 4-day mark. I can't see that schedule time yet because
they don't have the teams.
they don't have the teams.
They have, oh no, they don't. Oh no, they do.
Do they have the break? Oh,
They have the dates here. So it's like 6th of April, 13th, 16th, 20th, 24th.
So you're then at 4-day gaps.
Yeah. I also think the reason why there's a week-long gap between some of them, but not all of them, is for CEV, for Champions League. I think that's also the reason why the scheduling is the way it is.
Yeah, because the CEV will be going into their finals.
Yeah, but that's about it. So you guys can watch that on VBTV, and I suggest you do. What a good way to start your indoor volleyball season in Australia than to watch the world's best and then go into yours. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I've been a little bit annoyed with myself. I haven't been able to watch that much of this season.
Yeah.
Because we've been so busy.
I'm back to being a uni student, which means I have the free time to watch volleyball. I mean, study.
No comment. All right, so if you guys want to ask, we did a Q&A with Sketch last ep, but if you guys want to ask more questions or specific questions, join the Discord, ask them away.
I guarantee there'll be some live chatting going on these games as well.
Oh, yeah. There's a good chance normally they align okay with us. Like primetime Italy is like our midday / morning.
Yeah.
Like it's not terrible. Oh, it depends on daylight saving, so I can't quite remember. But anyways, keep an eye on the Discord. We'll be chit-chatting and there's some experts.
It might be like our morning time. But we can get up early a couple of days, you know?
Oh, I'm not a morning person.
I did it for the CEV.
Yeah, true, you did. There's some experts in the Discord who will really have some knowledge for us on, like Nathan Roberts is there, so I'm sure he'll be commentating. He'll be chit-chatting about the games, as long as, Alex and I. Yeah, so we just want to ask, like, who do you guys think we should get on next? There's lots of guests we have in mind. We just need to figure out our schedules and have it, but like, you guys feel free to suggest people.
We have Micheletto. Suggest Micheletto.
We can try our best. I'll send him a DM. Surely he checks all of his thousands of DMs.
Surely. I've been DMing him every day straight saying
what?
You're so hot.
So, yeah. No comment. But yeah, you guys can find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Discord, Spotify, and all the usual places. We'll see you guys next week.